The lack of parity between Vanguard and Assault is not justifiable. Alright, so this is a post that is extremely detailed and has some great suggestions for basically for some balance changes around these two classes. And here's the thing. This post basically tries to detail that Vanguard and Assault are way too similar. The thing is, I like both of these classes. I think they have some good points here, but I gotta say, when I play Assault, I'm basically trying to play aggressive with my melee weapon, where when I play Vanguard, I'm trying to play aggressive, I mean, obviously with my melee weapon, but also with my ranged weapon. However, I think there has been some good jump pack changes that really help out, you know, kind of define the Assault class a little bit more. So let's jump into this post, because I do think they have some good points here, and they have quite a lot to say. They cooked a lot with this post. This post is very long. So yes, let's get into their point here. And let's see if there's anything that needs to be changed, or if there's something that we haven't really talked about that can kind of make these classes feel unique, I guess. But I imagine there's going to be some great suggestions and maybe some hot takes here. I've played with both classes, and the longer I play, the more befuddled I become. No matter how I look at these, classes are basically the same concept, the same concept done in two different ways. Two flavors of the same dessert. Except Vanguard rewards you for aggression and gives you the tools to protect or revitalize yourself, while the Assault has no ultimate reward at the end of its skill tunnel. Interesting. At the end of its skill tunnel. So I think they're suggesting, yeah, that the last column of Assault should be better used for survivability, and I think there's like one or two jump pack perks there that are kind of useful. But all three of them are jump pack perks, I believe. There's definitely some room for some rework, for sure. Or at least maybe an added bonus. But okay. Let's go into what they are saying here, what they are trying to detail out. Class ability, Grapple versus jetpack. At first you might think this aggression versus versatility. The grapple has only one direction, towards the enemy. The jetpack, on the other hand, offers multiple options, but this isn't how it plays out in actual gameplay. The jetpack, on the other, offers multiple options, but this isn't how it plays out. Alright, let's see what they're saying, before I disagree with anything. Grapple secretly excels at stopping damage. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is definitely a good point here. If you're dealing with a pesky ranged enemy that you simply can't safely close the distance on, grappling that enemy causes a stagger. Boom! You've got a safe engagement tool, and you've halted the damage being done to you. You will also be rewarded for this aggressive play with health depending on certain perks. Yes, especially if you go after an extremist, right? Plus, depending on other perks and conditions, you may even get that ability charge refunded. The grapple does only one thing, but it can be used strategically to do multiple things. I didn't even mention that you can potentially use it to go straight into a finisher. So grapple into invulnerability frames, grapple into iframes. Yes, they're correct. I've never seen grapple quite broken down like this. Normally, grapple is kind of underwhelming for me. But I see Grapple actually has a lot of Grapple has a lot of use, for sure. Apparently it has some iframes built in as well. Amazing. Yeah, okay, so that's unfortunate. Yeah, Jetpack does not have any iframes built in. Jetpack is not so secretly terrible at avoiding damage. Yeah, Jetpack. Yeah, sometimes you can get hit by snipers. It's rough. And there's also a perk where you get extra damage if you hold it, which also puts you in a bad situation. Yeah, it's not so secretly terrible at avoiding damage, I agree. You can be hit out of the sky, and you can be hit while dashing. You also have no way of getting that resource back unless you perfect dodged. And when you are under fire, you can be killed while waiting for that moment. Heck, the Chaos Agents rarely give you that moment. The jetpack dodge is essentially a buggy gimmick that the developers overemphasized. Holy cow. I think that's a little harsh. But, okay. Vanguard, on the other hand, fulfills the super mobile marine fantasy more easily with a far lower skill ceiling. Alright, going back on the jetpack dodge is essentially a buggy gimmick thing. The way jetpack dodge, to me, justifies itself is the ranged bonuses you get from it. So, yes, obviously it's going to be tough to perfect dodge with jetpack, but when you are able to do it, you are getting a free dodge that buffs your damage, basically. Now, obviously all perfect dodges are free, right? But what I mean is, you can still use the jetpack ability for a slam. And not to mention, yes, the range damage bonuses, to me, justifies the jetpack perks because I think it's a really unique way to build assault. And the heavy bolt pistol and the Volkite both greatly benefit from using the jetpack to buff your range damage. And not to mention the synergy it has with gun strikes, where you're getting perfect dodges, you're getting gun strikes, and then you also can get your armor back with non-lethal gun strikes. So I do think there is some survivability there, and you know there is definitely a unique property to using jetpack more so than a buggy gimmick. Like, holy cow. That's all I have to say about that. So how do these two pair up offensively? To put it frankly, an aerial ground slam doesn't do anything a grapple into melta rifle can't really do. Disagree. I think on absolute, if you do grapple into a melta rifle, it doesn't kill a rubric marine. I'm pretty sure like a balance or a blocking weapon, melee weapon, is going to one-shot that rubric marine for assault. You know what I mean? So they will also get their armor back for that. Look, here's the thing. How do these two pair up offensively? I will say straight up, the jetpack slam is stronger than grapple. Just from a base standpoint. You can put the melta rifle there, but I don't think one shot to a melta is going to get the job done. You need multiple shots with the melta rifle, and in that case, if you need an extra weapon to help you deal damage with your skill, it's probably not as strong as the skill that's based around the weapon. You know what I mean? Or, you know, the jetpack slam is based around how strong your melee weapon is. The grapple is not based around how strong your actual weapon is. It's just your actual weapon being strong. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of hard to point out there, but I do think jetpack is more offensively capable. There's an argument to be made that the ground slam single target damage is the reward, but I'd argue there are other classes that can do that damage far more safely. I mean, yeah, kind of. The thing is, yeah, like, but you'd have to bring in the heavy to this conversation. The point you're trying to make is that Vanguard and Assault are too similar, and this is the one glaring difference: is the Assault's ground slam jetpack damage is really good. It's probably the highest burst damage you can get in the game, and that's just, you know, you can point out melta rifles and stuff, but you still have to do multiple shots. We're talking about one slam, and you don't even need to use ammo for it. You know, like even the sniper shots are comparable for sure, but like that's the sniper's super different than Assault. One's a melee class, one's a newly buffed ranged class that's very powerful at the moment. So I guess I'm also getting off subject here. At the end of the day, jetpack is doing a lot of things badly, while grapple is doing one thing extremely well. But it is doing so well that it compensates for the lack of diversity. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Look, I think jetpack is doing one thing very well, and then there's a lot of things that obviously can be improved with it. That's hardly jetpack is doing a lot of things badly. That's not really the case. Jetpack is doing one thing very well, and then everything else, they're falling flat. And then the grapple is more versatile. I 100% agree with that. But okay, so far so good. I like this post. Defensive capability. Assault has none. It is somewhat mind-boggling how in Assault's entire tree, it has barely any defensive perks. Non-finisher gunstrike give armor. Yeah, that's the main one though, to be honest. That is the main defensive perk there. While performing charge attack takes, the less damage, the less range damage for charge attacks, it's not good. It's not good because in higher difficulties, I mean, it's probably good in lower difficulties, but in higher difficulties, if you get any range damage when you're doing a charge attack, you're taking a lot of damage. So you would need more damage reduction to stack on top of that. After ground pound, you take 15% less range damage. That's not too bad, but because ground pounds are just a lot easier to do, you know? Charge attacks are kind of difficult to pull off. I mean, unless you're using the Power Fist, apparently. Apparently, the Power Fist is a very, very strong ranged weapon, which I knew about. But yeah, to compare the charge attacks for Power Fist against like the charge attacks for like the Thunder Hammer, obviously it's way risky to go with the Thunder Hammer charge attacks. It's just slow, you know? But you're better off doing the ground pound. So ground pound less damage is a little bit more understandable. But yeah, the best one there is definitely the non-finisher gun strike give armor. 100%. 2 of these perks merely soften the damage absorbed during moments of vulnerability. You will take damage during these vulnerable animations. That's not a net gain in sustain. That's a trade-off. Vanguard doesn't have trade-off defensive perks. In fact, Vanguard has multiple perks that actually mitigate health damage, not just range damage. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing for Vanguard, sorry. I do think those perks are great for Vanguard and actually add into the Vanguard's aggressiveness. So, yeah, I mean, they're right about this, but I do think, obviously, Vanguard does need those perks, and they're good and they're well designed. For example, Thrill of the Fight takes 20% less health damage after perfect dodge, parry, block. The only defense perk that rivals this is the Gun Strike perk, and I don't even have to talk about healing. Vanguard already trumps Assault, and this isn't even the only health damage mitigation Vanguard has. Yes, this is very fair. Why Assault doesn't have the option to mitigate range damage despite multi-rifle dominance, Vanguard has multiple ranged weapons to choose from. Assault is forced to be melee, yet lacks the tank perks that it desperately needs to sustain itself at close range. Well, see, that's the thing. Those ranged perks aren't... Those ranged perks... I do think there's, like, whenever you use jetpack, oh, yeah, you would just increase your damage. Now for the... yeah, for the most part, they're right about this. The gun build I had for Assault, the only real defensive properties it had was the non-finisher gun strike. And then it still, you know, it still has gun strikes with perfect dodging, and then, you know, also increases its range damage as well. So I'm not saying Assault is forced to be melee. Melee is obviously Assault, the Assault class's specialty, but you can make it a ranged build for sure. It's just weird. It feels like because Vanguard lacks a third armor segment, the developers overcompensated for it, but Assault inherently carries more risk, and that risk isn't rewarded or compensated for. It would be like if Bulwark got less tanky because it had 3 armor segments. I mean, honestly, that's a fair way to break down the armor economy in the game, but I'm still not fully on board with saying there isn't any risk reward for Assault that is worth it. Like, basically, Assault should be one tapping. It should be one tapping majors and then getting their armor back for the execution. That is risk reward right there. You know what I mean? Oh, but they have a quick fix here. This is why this post is very good. They actually add their solutions for their criticisms. The quickest fix for this disparity, in my opinion, is that the jetpack needs a secondary effect, scrambling enemy aim. If I use a jetpack, I should briefly become not targetable, not invulnerable, just harder to hit. I really like this idea. Holy cow. And honestly, you really could just add this onto a signature perk for Assault, is whenever they use the jetpack, they scramble enemy aim. I like this idea. I don't know how easy it would be to add into the game, but I do like this idea. Making the jetpack a soft de-aggro tool would do wonders for its survivability. Yeah, I completely agree. That is a very, very good solution. All perfect dodge should take away 20% cooldown from jetpack charge. We have all this perfect dodge synergy and gatekeep it behind jetpack dodging. I mean, I guess. I think that makes it more unique, to be honest. Jetpack perfect dodge is a full refund. Normal perfect dodging refunds 20%. Hey, I'll take that. I think that's cool. I think that's cool. I like the idea for the scrambling enemy aim, though, just a tad bit better. But yeah, so far this is a great post. The long fix: make jetpack dodge cancel all melee animations so that it is actually superior to dodging. Okay, that's interesting. I like this idea. There are definitely some good suggestions here. Give the current defensive perks to, by the way, health damage mitigation, and stop tying its defensive perks to moments of vulnerability. It's a net loss in survivability. These mistakes even are repeated in the Thunderhammer perk tree. The class needs an actual sustained perk. Gun strikes alone are not it. Alright, yeah, I agree that gun strikes alone are not it, but yeah, obviously the non-lethal gun strike perk is really good. So I still think that's something that that Assault does well, is gun strikes, and that's honestly kind of fair. Fix the numerous bugs with Assault's jetpack. Yeah, that goes without saying though. Assault probably needs 3 charges. It essentially has 2 class abilities tied to 1 cooldown with no overlap in utility. All right. I think that's a pretty hardcore buff. I think if Assault has 3 charges, you don't even need to do any of the other things, because I'm just going to use those 3 charges to absolutely obliterate everything that's in my way. Like, I don't even care about jump pack dodging at that point. I'm just, you know, I'm just straight up destroying everything. Imagine Inner Fire with 3 charges. The Assault class would go absolutely nuts every operation. That's wild. I would like to see it. Edit. Okay, forgot to mention that the Melter Rifle is the single best contested health regainer in the game. Assault has no fast way to regain contested health. Yeah, I mean, the Heavy Bolt Pistol isn't bad, but it's definitely not comparable to the Melta. I mean, fair point. Jetpack dodge becoming Assault's default dodge is also a cool idea. Yeah, I mean, I heard that one. That one seems pretty strong. But honestly, with all the support they are doing to the jetpack dodge, it's like, why not, you know? All right, this was a great post. I think they had a lot to say about why Vanguard is in a really good spot, but I still want to play Vanguard myself. I've seen Vanguard still being in a great spot despite the nerf. But it's interesting. It's very interesting the way they see Assault. Also, whatever they suggested does do a great job at making Assault have more builds. Assault is probably the class that has the least versatile kit. Basically, you need to, if you're a melee class, you need to get those one-shots. You need to get those one-shot slams. And then if you're trying to, you know, build around the Heavy Bolt Pistol or any sort of gun damage, you are basically a gun-striking jetpack dodge build. So, I don't know, that's only 2 builds. I've kind of, I basically stretched, like, maybe like 4 builds at a sniper. So, I don't know. We will see, but these are great suggestions, man. These are really good. If only a handful of the stuff is applied to Assault, that's going to be a meaningful buff. Honestly, I'd be happy if they just made the superior dash Assault's regular dash. What sense does it make to use a charge risking 0 impact versus playing the same cost while guaranteeing relatively massive impact and garnering the exact same reward, restoring a charge? There's practically 0 reason to use the superior dash other than it being fun. No, with the buffs. With the buffs. I'm probably one of the only people who did try a gun build for Assault, so I'm not surprised people don't know this, but yeah, like, I understand the jetpack dash is a little bit weird, but you definitely get some good buffs from using it. You can get like over like 100% range damage or something, and then that, you know, you're able to get headshots with that, and then also you are able to continue, you know, doing gun strikes. Gun striking is part of a gun build, right? I really enjoy Assault, but man, trying to run the class on Chaos missions was unbearable when every single time I went up, some sniper plucked me at my health bar. A single engagement took me from full to death's door. I mean, yeah. You gotta clear out those snipers, man. You really do. But yeah, that's Assault is definitely in a weird spot against Chaos. I agree. But for the most part, if you're still able to land parries, and, you know, gun striking is probably your best bet going against Chaos. But still, I was able to play this class with Chaos missions. But I was using a balanced Thunderhammer. And yes, you do have to clear out those snipers, but it's worth it, and it's kind of, you know, as long as you have the balanced weapon and you're good at parrying, you're still in a good spot to just, like, you know, shoot down a couple snipers and then continue your Thunderhammer rampage. I've said it since day one, Vanguard is a better dueling class than Assault, and Bulwark is a better melee class than Assault. That's just, wow. I guess Intimidating Aura, sure. Intimidating Aura is pretty strong, but that means Bulwark is also a better dueling class than Vanguard. It's just, You're basically just, you know, if you put intimidating aura into this conversation, it's like, oh, well, bulwark's just better. It's just like, what? Oh, wild. Assault is super fun, but it's still the worst class in the game and has been since launch. Sheesh. All right, I'm thinking about it. I haven't played heavy since patch 6, and I haven't played Vanguard really since patch 6. But I've seen Vanguard still perform very well. I've seen heavies still perform very well. It's definitely more rare to see an assault player play as well as the average heavy player you run into. And I don't know, I play assault quite a bit. This is tough. This is a tough conclusion for the video. Is assault actually the worst class in the game at the moment? And has always been the worst class? Huh. I don't know. I will say it doesn't have a lot. It's the class with the least amount of builds, which I feel like caps its ceiling. Like you can definitely uncap Bulwark's ceiling because it has so many builds. Intimidating Aura also does a lot of help. Vanguard has a lot of builds, but Vanguard also has sustainable healing, which, you know, puts it above a lot of classes. Heavy is just super dominant, but like Heavy's also super tanky. Assault, the criticism here is Assault is just not tanky enough, which is, I would say the jetpack is a way to get the Assault to be a bit tankier and a bit better at survivability, but it doesn't seem to be the most reliable dodge or the most reliable defense for the class as far as people's, you know, perspective of it and how people are trying it out. I wasn't great with the jump pack, but I still think it was a pretty fair way to gauge the Assault survivability is, hey, if you're good with the jetpack dodge, you're probably surviving quite a bit with the Assault class. That said, that is probably one of the harder things to master in the game. So, it's weird. Assault definitely has... It's interesting. It's like, it has a pretty good ceiling for damage, and it's just the defense. When it comes to the defense with the Assault, you just have to be really good with the jetpack mechanic. Huh. But still, the ground slam's gonna put you in trouble, and you're not really... You know, you really still have to play quite aggressive with the class itself. I don't know. This is a great post. I don't really have a good rebuttal to really put Assault above any other class at the moment, so I am just going to have to concede that point, that Assault might be the worst class in the game, and it has been that way since the launch. Interesting. All right, let me know in the comments how you guys felt about this. I'm gonna take another look at Assault because I think there's definitely Assault's definitely a good class. It's crazy to think that we are criticizing Assault survivability, but I have been able to take Assault into Absolute and absolutely demolish runs because you just have to check out the Chaos Crusher video to see how strong Assault is at the moment. Assault does have some good builds. But you have to parry well, you have to dodge, you have to perfect dodge well. You just have to be really good at the defensive mechanics in the game, you know? You don't really get any chances to clean up your mistakes. That's pretty much where the difficulty for Assault comes from.